We all make mistakes. It's part of life and no one is perfect. Unfortunately, in the fish keeping hobby, when we make mistakes, it usually ends up leading to a miserable life for the fish or possibly even death. So in an attempt to try to prevent this, we're going to dedicate the next 3 videos to fish keeping mistakes. In this episode, Lisa and I are going to share with you what we believe are the 10 most common fish keeping mistakes. For parts 2 and 3, we're going to turn it over to your favorite YouTubers and we're going to hear their stories about the biggest mistakes they've made in the hobby. So this is absolutely not going to be something that you're going to want to miss. You're going to want to make sure you click that subscribe button, ring the bell, because you're going to want to see all 3 parts of this. But with all that said, here are the 10 most common fish keeping mistakes. Oh, and real quick, make sure you watch all the way to the end because Lisa's number 1 thing is going to absolutely blow your mind. I almost named this segment impulse buying because we have all been guilty of that. We go out to the fish store and we just see that new fish that we haven't seen before and we just have to have it. This isn't usually a big deal unless we're talking about fish. We've all done it. You see that fish and you say, oh, that is gorgeous. I've got to have that. Thankfully, we've got these little devices in our pockets that we can turn to and do some quick research on the fish to make sure it's compatible with our situation at home. But it wasn't like that back in the day. We had to rely on the pet store employee to ask us qualifying questions to make sure that this fish is going to be okay in our tank. Or we just roll the dice. When you do this with fish, there are so many things that can go wrong, but the main thing is that fish might not get along with the other fish that you have in your tank. You take it home and you put it in the tank with all your other fish and it ends up killing everything else in your tank, or possibly even the other way around. You put the fish in there and it instantly gets eaten by the other fish. Either way, it's not a good thing. Spoiler alert, that's going to be my mistake next week. Stay tuned for that. Then there's also the fact that the new fish might require different water parameters or a bigger tank or different decorations than the fish you already have. The point is, you need to have some impulse control. Believe me, we've all been guilty of that. You need to make sure that the fish that you're buying is going to be compatible not only with your setup, but also with the fish that you currently have. Trust me, it'll save all kinds of heartache. I've been there. Watch next week.
When you go to a fish store, most of the fish that you're going to see are either going to be juveniles or babies, and these are really small fish. The problem is a lot of these fish don't stay small for very long. After about a year, some could be as big as 12 inches. Make sure you look into how big this fish is going to get, and that way you know if your tank that you already have is going to handle this fish for its entire life. A lot of people say, well, the fish will be fine for now. I plan on getting a bigger tank later on anyway. I always try to steer people away from that because life happens and things come up and then we end up not getting a bigger tank, and then who suffers? The fish. Get fish that can live their entire life in the tank you already have. If you're dead set on getting this other fish that you know is going to get larger and needs a bigger tank, then just wait a little while and save up for that bigger tank and do the right thing. Patience is the key in this hobby.
One of the common themes that you're going to find in this list is impulse control. We all go to the pet store and lose our minds. We've all done it. Well, here's another situation we've all found ourselves in. You see that fish that you have to have. It's absolutely gorgeous and you've never seen anything like it. And you think to yourself, well, that fish is going to be okay to go into my 15-gallon with my 12 other fish. I'll just do more water changes. It'll be fine. Here's the thing, as fish keepers, we are all fighting to maintain that balance in our aquarium. When you have everything all set with the fish that you currently have and you throw a new fish in there, it could completely throw everything off balance and end in total disaster. More fish means more food. More food means more poop. More poop means more ammonia, and so on and so on and so on. You also don't know if adding this new fish might affect the hierarchy in your tank. You put this new guy in there and he looks around and says, you know what, I'm taking over this joint for myself, and starts fighting everyone in the tank. You know, the tank that you had nice and balanced before, now all of a sudden everyone's fighting and everyone's killing each other. It's not like I'm preaching that we should all only have one fish in our tank and never add anything else to it. I'm certainly not doing that. But if you've been working with your tank for a while and your water parameters are all balanced out, the hierarchy in your tank is all figured out, you throw somebody new in there. We all work so hard to achieve that balance, and it could just take one little thing to throw it all off. We just need to control ourselves, that's all.
If you're brand new to this channel, then you may not realize that John and I used to own a fish store. We would have customers come in, and a lot of times we would hear the same story over and over again. My fish weren't looking happy and the tank was dirty, so I took the fish out, drained the tank completely, and thoroughly cleaned everything, even all the rocks, filter, and decorations. I set everything back up again and everything was fine for about 2 weeks. Now my water is cloudy and all my fish are up at the top gasping for air. This is one of those situations where a fish keeper thinks they're doing the right thing. They think, if I go overboard and I clean it a whole lot, which is a lot of people's natural reaction, they think they're doing the right thing. When it comes to an aquarium, overreacting can be deadly. Your aquarium has denitrifying bacteria that grows on the surfaces. This bacteria is a fish keeper's best friend. It takes ammonia and nitrate that is the result of uneaten fish food and waste and converts it to nitrate, which is much less harmful to your fish. It gives us that balance that we try so hard to achieve. When you perform a deep cleaning of your aquarium, you're getting rid of all of that glorious bacteria, and then you throw everything off. Now when you set everything up again, you put your fish back in, ammonia spikes. And then what happens? Boom! Everything comes crashing down. Understand that there's no hobby that less is more applies more to. When you find a problem in your tank, don't panic. Take a deep breath. Resist the urge to overclean. Just trust me on this, you'll thank me later. And so will your fish.
All right, so in the last two segments, Lisa and I have both addressed the nitrogen cycle. Unfortunately, in a format like this, there's just not enough time to go over every single detail about the cycle. If you want more information on that, put a card up in the corner. Take a look at that, watch those videos, watch other people's videos on it too. Get a good understanding of this cycle. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I'm probably gonna completely botch this, but I consider the nitrogen cycle to almost be like the human body's immune system. Your body's immune system helps to prevent you from getting sick. It fights off germs and bacteria, but sometimes the germs are more powerful than your body can fight off, and you get sick. Well, the nitrogen cycle helps to keep your aquarium healthy and fight off that dreaded ammonia and nitrite. Understanding the nitrogen cycle is the most critical aspect of this hobby because not having a good understanding of how it works can lead to some of the mistakes that we've talked about. Mistakes that kill fish. It's a pretty simple concept to understand, but so many fish keepers jump into things without even knowing what it is, and what happens? Their tank crashes, fish die, they get frustrated and bail. I promise the nitrogen cycle has not only killed more fish than anything else, but it's also killed the hobby for more people than anything else. If you have a glass box full of water in your home and you don't have a good, clear understanding of the nitrogen cycle, do yourself a favor before you do anything else, make yourself familiar with it. There's tons of information out there. Go check it out. Trust me, it's the most fundamental thing that we need to know about this hobby.
No matter how hard we try to prevent problems, it's inevitable that something's going to happen in your aquarium. And it's usually when you don't want it to happen, like we ever really want it to happen, but it's going to be at the most inconvenient time. Always. For me, it seems to happen at either 10 o'clock at night or maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but that's the day that the pet store is closed. Yay! If you don't have a backup plan in place, then you could definitely be in serious trouble. Our suggestion would be to keep some common medications, empty buckets, a spare air pump, or even a battery-operated air pump and a spare heater just in case. It's also not a bad idea to think about what would you do if your tank springs a leak. Where are you going to put the fish? Take the time to think about if things were to go wrong. That way you have a plan in place and you know exactly how to react. Trust me, these things never happen when it's convenient. So have a plan and be prepared.
We've talked about this issue in previous episodes of 10 Things, and I've had some comments of people saying, who cares? Or it's better than just letting the fish die. But believe me when I tell you, this issue is bigger than you think. From plecos threatening the manatee population in Florida, lionfish ruining the ecosystem in the ocean, and even snakeheads causing panic in the mid-Atlantic, this is a real issue. I don't care what kind of fish it is, there is no acceptable excuse for releasing them into the wild. Let me ask you this. How would you react if you went to your friend's house and said, hey, where's that beautiful German Shepherd you had? And your friend said, oh, he got too big and we felt like it was mean to keep him confined in our small yard, so we just drove out to the woods and let him go. He'll be happier out there. I don't know anyone that would hear a story like that and be like, yeah, you know what, you're probably right, he's better off out there. No one. My reaction would be more like, what the fuck? Listen, probably 99% of the fish in the aquarium hobby are tank-raised fish. They don't even know what to do in the wild. If you have a fish that you can't handle, do the right thing and rehome them to a fish keeper that can handle them, or take them back to your fish store. Don't release them into the wild. Nothing good can ever come from that.
Everyone knows that overfeeding your fish is one of the biggest problems in fish keeping, but I couldn't help it, I still had to put it on the list. Overfeeding happens for a lot of reasons. It could be that someone that's not educated or younger could walk by the tank and be like, you know what, I just want to feed the fishy. Or it could be someone that's a sucker like me and just wants to feed them because they always look hungry. Whatever the reason, overfeeding wreaks havoc on an aquarium. The extra food either falls down to the bottom, sits and rots, or the fish eat way too much of it, get serious health problems, or produce way too much waste. Remember when John talked about the cycle in number 6? Well, the beneficial bacteria keeps things under control to a point. But if there's too much ammonia producing things in the tank, it just can't keep up. If the bacteria can't keep up, the ammonia will spike and then your fish are in trouble. Part of getting that healthy balance in your aquarium is knowing how much to feed your fish. Throw some food in and watch your fish eat. If they eat it all up in 10 to 15 seconds, then go ahead and give them a little bit more, but don't go overboard. Keep a close eye on things, and when they stop going after the food aggressively, then that's when you stop. And fish are always going to act like they're hungry, so don't fall for it.
Aquariums are a great way to relax and just sit back and enjoy what you have. But they're not for the lazy person. Aquariums are a lot of work. If you can't handle that, then this might not be the hobby for you. It's not exactly back-breaking work, but it is work that has to be done. And most fish keepers that you talk to are going to tell you it's part of the fun. They enjoy the results and they enjoy doing the right thing for their fish. Unfortunately, most of these problems on our list today are caused by people not keeping up with their tanks. We all get lazy from time to time. Lord knows I do, but when we get lazy and fall behind on our maintenance, not only do our tanks look bad, but it can also result in dead fish. Don't look at it as a chore. This is work that keeps your tank looking good and also keeps it healthy for your fish. So it looks good and it makes you feel good at the same time. It's a win-win. Don't be lazy, get off your ass, and go clean your aquarium.
Okay, I know what you're thinking. How could putting a tank too close to a window be #1 on the list? Give me a minute and it'll make sense. When you're looking for the perfect place to set up your new aquarium, pay attention to the windows and the exposure to the sunlight that it gets. If you place your tank right next to a window, there's a few issues that could come up. The first thing is if there's a lot of sunlight coming through and lighting up your tank, it can cause all kinds of issues. You might think, well, it'll be nice. The sunlight will make it more natural and I won't even have to use the lights as much. Well, this is true, but at what cost? Direct sunlight is a lot more powerful than most of your aquarium lights. And you have to think about in the summertime, it could be hitting your tank for 10 to 12 hours straight. This might look nice and save on your light bill, but it's gonna cause some nasty algae blooms. You're constantly gonna be cleaning your glass. Another issue is that a lot of older houses have drafty windows. So in the winter time, your heater's gonna be working twice as hard. Here's something interesting, this will be fun. Just hear me out. You put your 29-gallon aquarium next to a window. Mistake #1 on the list. The sunlight causes a huge algae bloom and you're feeling lazy and you don't want to clean it. Mistake #2 on the list. Since you're lazy, you decided adding a common placa will be the best thing to clean up the algae. Mistake #9 on the list. A 29-gallon is way too small for a common placo. Give me a break. I say placo, you say pleco. You already had 11 fish in the tank and you add the placo. Well, this causes all kinds of havoc in the tank and completely throws everything off. Now we have a huge ammonia spike. Mistake #8 and 6 on the list. Since the ammonia is spiked out of control and the algae is still a problem because the placo can only do so much, and it's still getting all that sunlight, you decide the right thing to do would be a thorough cleaning in the tank. Mistake #7 and 6 on the list. While all of this is going on, you realize some of your smaller fish are missing. Then you realize it's the catfish you put in the tank to help solve one problem, but then it ended up eating your fish. Mistake #10 on the list. So in the end, you just get fed up with the placo and you decide you want to get rid of it, but nobody will take him. So you just take him down to the river and get rid of him. Mistake #4 on the list. Oh, and the weather has turned. It's gotten cold outside. Your window is so drafty that all the cold air came in, your heater had to work extra hard, it burned out, and then your fish died. They died because your heater went out and you didn't have a backup heater just in case. Mistake #5 on the list. So you thought we were crazy putting this #1 on the list, but putting your tank in front of a window could cause a chain reaction, which could cause 9 mistakes that we have on the list. Bottom line, don't put your tank in front of a window.
So there you go, our list of the 10 most common fish keeping mistakes. These are mistakes made by us, folks. These are things that we know from our experience. But there's a whole lot more mistakes out there to be made. And so we are gonna dedicate the next 2 videos to those mistakes, but they're not gonna be from us. We're gonna have other YouTubers share their stories of mistakes that they've made in this hobby. So you're not gonna wanna miss that. Make sure you subscribe, click the notification bell, do all that so that you can be in there and watch it first when it comes out next week and the week after that. It's gonna be so much fun. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to talking to you again next week with 10 more things from other YouTubers.